he can add in his rings. Rob Gaines, everybody, I'm not sure, but Rob Gaines with Summit Edge Realty at Keller Williams, also Summit Wealth Strategies, which is our investment and education business that we started 2 years ago.
A little over a year ago.
Okay. All right. So.
And then Critter Thompson, who pretty much lost his voice, so he's going to be the peanut gallery today, helping us out.
He's going to monitor the chat, and normally he'll be up here teaching with us, right? But he's going to save his voice to cheer on IU on Friday night. Hoosiers. Sorry about this. She didn't like well, sports, go sports, yeah. Right. Anyway, so Foundations of Wealth. So this is a 12-part class that we taught essentially to our team and to our office last year, and we did it in 12 months. Okay. And but this year we decided we want to teach it quicker. We want to do it in 12 weeks roughly, and we want to open it up to everybody. Okay. So we're doing it here at the library. It's also on Zoom. We have people from around the country that are waiting for the recording. That and we just want to teach. So in Keller Williams, I joined a community called KW Wealth. All right. And you walk into this room and you're in a room with multimillionaires talking at a multi-million-dollar level about wealth building. And what they left off was everything down here, right? The foundations of wealth, as we call it. So we wanted to go back and teach all of it. We want to start at the very beginning with mindset, which is today's class. And we want to work our way up to what's it mean to own a business, to own a storage facility, to short-term rentals, midterm rentals, do flips, anything and everything wealth related. Okay. So we want to run the gamut. So we're actually next week is really budgeting.
Budgeting and communication with your spouse and how to be on the same page with money, which is something that
so we're gonna take like Hey Ramsey teachings and Keller Williams teachings and other folks that are teaching and books that we've read and kind of mush them all together so that we can take the whole process. Okay, so so that's how we're doing this, and it's free because we believe in giving back. All right, we've been blessed and graced with the opportunity to learn from a lot of really successful people about money, and we want to give it back to people. Okay?
All right.
Our goal is to if you've got teenagers that you think would benefit from this because they're not learning this in high school, bring them. All right. I think that's important.
She's watching all the kids out there.
I do have one specific class that is just on how to teach money to your kids.
Okay.
Yeah. Are we doing that one here?
Yeah, I think that's the week that you're gone. Critter and I are going to teach that one. He doesn't know it yet.
Awesome.
All right. So this is our disclaimer. All right. Nothing in this course constitutes investment advice, performance data, or any recommendation on any security, portfolio of securities, investment product, transaction, or investment strategy that is suitable for any specific person. We cannot assess anything about your personal circumstances, your finances, your goals, or objectives, all of which are unique to you. So any opinions or information contained in this course are just that, an opinion or information. You should not use our advice to make financial decisions, and we highly recommend you seek professional advice from someone who is authorized to provide investment advice.
So a lot of today is conversation and about how we think around money, right? And wealth means to us, what wealth means to you. So this is an interactive class, right?
And later we might tell you like some of the things that we invest in, but again, that doesn't mean it's investment advice for you because we have to be very clear that we are not investment brokers or anything like that.
Right.
So
and you may notice that we don't have any notes for you to write on today. That was an oversight. We got excited about this in the class. We are recording this back there, so we are going to pop that recording into AI and produce a summary of the class for you as well and email that out to you. So we want to make sure that if you haven't registered for the class on Eventbrite, that we get your email address, the information, so we can send that to you when it's open. Okay. All right. So we did the intros. So first question, and Buffy, you want to switch your places? So she's going to be our scribe. So the first question is, what is wealth? Right. So, and this question for you all. So what is wealth? How do you define wealth for you? Anybody?
Freedom from a 9 to 5.
Freedom from the 9 to 5. Love it. Okay. What else? What is wealth? Pardon?
Peace of mind.
Peace of mind. Right.
Comfortability. Is that a good word?
So flexibility.
That's not a good word. How about your big name comfortable? Comfortability, that's a good word. It is today.
Okay, we'll take it. If Bubby can spell it, we'll take it.
AI.
What else? What is wealth?
What do you think of when you think of the word wealth?
Well, wealth is always associated with money, but then there's a wealth of knowledge, there's a wealth of experience, there's different types of wealth.
The thing is, there's no right answer here, right? Wealth is what you make it out to be, right? And yes, you're right. A lot of people think of money instantly when you say, well, you're not giving them a chance to answer the question, but it comes down to a lot of other aspects of life, right? It's an abundance of whatever it is you want out of life.
So your wealth could be more time.
Absolutely. There's a point at which people who have a lot of money start trading money for time. Because they put less money, less value on money, and they put more value on their time. So they redefine wealth for them. I think anybody who goes through this journey is going to see that same progression. You're going to define wealth initially as money, 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 and then you're going to define wealth as something completely different.
I think as your circumstances of life change, so does that wealth definition.
Yeah.
Kids, all the things that come along with it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Buffy, what's the next question?
I don't know, I have to look. All right, let's talk about what stops us from being wealthy. Important to know, right? If you want to be wealthy, you need to know what kind of things will keep you from being wealthy. All right, so we have.
In this case, we are more specifically talking about money, being a
Yes.
millionaire, for example.
So in this one, these are some of the reasons why people do not become millionaires. Okay. So one reason would be debt. So they have high interest payments, they have too many payments, they have too much debt, and that is keeping them from becoming a millionaire. They spend more than what they are bringing in. So they're spending beyond their means and they're keeping up a certain lifestyle. So their lifestyle is eating away at their potential savings. Not having a written plan. So operating without a direction or goals and actually having it written down. That's one thing that can keep you from becoming a millionaire. Being paper rich but cash poor. So having a lot of assets, maybe you own a lot of things on paper, but you don't actually have the cash flow to sustain your life. So then you're reverting back to having credit cards or lines of credit or things like that, because you don't have enough cash flow with your assets. The urge to be liquid. So especially with maybe some of the older generation too, they are not going to be really, really wealthy because they want to hold on to being able to access their money too easily. They want to see where it is, they want to feel it, they want to touch it, they want to be able to get it. And so they need it to be too liquid. And so they're not willing to let it sit long enough in an investment or something like that. And then not studying money. So we're hoping to help cure at least that one with this course. So making sure that everyone is educated and understands how money actually works. And then this one maybe isn't talked about as much, but they don't invest in people. So especially with entrepreneurs and people who run their own businesses, they want to control and do too many things themselves, and they're not willing to leverage off some of that thing. So it keeps them from actually being able to build wealth because they aren't willing to invest the money or the time that it makes into those relationships that can actually help them grow their wealth. So people putting off or delaying a decision to hire an assistant or, someone who can help you with your business or so that you have time to work on the things that matter. That's what that means.
Let's go back and talk about a few of these things in a little more detail. I think we have to do that. So like debt burden, for example. In real estate, we know that when people want to buy, or invest in real estate, that their debt to income ratio becomes a factor in their ability to loan. So, but the interesting thing is, that's the only time really in your life, unless you are intentional about it, that becomes a factor in your decisions, right? And it's really someone else's factor, right? It's the lender's factor for you, what is your debt to income ratio? Now, we're just talking about principal and interest versus your income, those kind of things, but this should be a true assessment that you make of yourself anytime you go to make a big purchase. Right? Well, how much debt are you taking on? How much income do you have coming in? That goes to a budgeting conversation, which we'll do. But I just wonder how many times we actually think about how much debt we have and how much income we have coming in, total debt, right? This is where, as young people, they get in trouble with credit cards because they don't recognize what that making that minimum payment is really all about. So, oh, I can afford the minimum payment. Yes, and you'll be paying on that credit card that you have like $3,000 on for 30 years.
Yeah.
Congratulations, you just saved yourself.
I'm one of those people that had to learn that through student loan, honestly. Like I had one student loan for one semester, and then I had to pay for 10 years once I got out of school to pay off one semester. That was a really bad choice. And if I had known a little bit more when I was, 20 some making that decision, I would have decided things so very, very differently.
Yeah.
So
Spending beyond your means. There's a book that we pulled a lot of information from called The Psychology of Money with Morgan Housel, right? If you have not read that book, highly recommend it. Morgan Housel, The Psychology of Money. It's one you can actually listen to, really easy too. He had a conversation with Gary Keller, who's the founder of Keller Williams. And they actually, on this podcast, they were talking about their percentage of income they lived on.
okay.
And they were making it a game. So this was a game that the wealthy play. The wealthy are trying to figure out how little can I live on versus what I make. Now, when we're in a different situation, when we're struggling to make it through the end of the month, we don't think that way. And it's hard to escape that mindset. But I thought it was very intriguing. They were like competitively going, oh, well, when I was 40, I lived off 50% of my money. Now I'm living off 1%. It's like, okay, they're just bragging now. But it was true in the way that's the way they think. They think differently than most of us think about living off of our income.
Right.
Right. We don't make it a game. We should make it a game. Right. Anyway, the not studying money. Who would you turn to study? Where would you turn to study money?
I started with Dave Ramsey just because he was very easy for a regular person to understand. And I liked how he explained things in a way that I could understand. So that's where I started learning about money.
And there's a lot of great things that Dave Ramsey has to say about helping people. What maybe the wealthy don't like about Dave Ramsey is he's only focused on a certain level of wealth, right? And at some point, his teachings can keep you in the middle class.
Mhm.
Does that make sense? Right? I mean, I like Dave Ramsey, but I also recognize that the wealthy don't like his teachings because he actually doesn't want people to use debt. And the wealthy just know how to use debt to their advantage.
But you
Right?
shouldn't jump ahead to that if you haven't learned to
The
make
sequence
the
is important.
basics.
Sequence is important. The wealthy understand that. But so anyway, Dave Ramsey is a great one. And then, Gary Keller has written books on investing, which is
Kiyosaki and Morgan Housel.
Robert Kiyosaki. Yeah, Rich Dad Poor Dad is a great book. Cash Flow Quadrant, one of my favorite books. I won't go there. I won't draw it up on the board just yet. Save that for another class.
We do. We have it in multiple classes. You're welcome.
All right. I think we
All
can move
right.
on.
Any other of these that you guys would like any more have questions on or more
Or do you feel
explanation
yourself, like, do you feel like this is something that's holding you back? Okay.
All right. Next, we're going to go into the myths
The myths
around investing. So maybe some myths that you have been told about money and investing. So Rob's going to take that one.
Yep.
Here you go.
So, all right, so there's 8 common investing myths. All right, so number 1, my job will take care of me. All right, so let's be real, pensions are rare and Social Security isn't something that's really gonna be. If you don't know this already, Social Security is meant to only take care of about 10% of your retirement income. That's it, 10%. So, but job security isn't guaranteed. Most young people have jobs, seems like every other year now. But your job income isn't going to take care of you in the future, right? Investing is too complicated, all right? Simple strategies work. You don't need an MBA, right? It's too risky, right? not investing is riskier over time due to inflation.
You want to expand on that a little bit more?
The one where it's too risky?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So the way risk is defined, risk is making decisions when you don't have knowledge. Right? When you don't know, when you can't predict the outcome. Investing is truly not risky because you're going to invest in something that you have information and knowledge about that has a history of predictable outcomes. Right? That's why people invest in real estate, is because it's stable, it's predictable. You kind of know the direction it's going to go in, especially here in the Midwest. So it isn't by its nature risky as long as you have studied and you have good people on your side helping you make good decisions. Right? Playing the lottery is risky because you don't know the outcome and the odds are not in your favor. Investing is not risky, even though people think it is. Right? Playing day trader of the stock market is risky unless you went to school for that and you have that information, you have that knowledge, right? So we're not suggesting any one particular type of investment, and yet whatever we suggest, go get the education first, right? I'm content with what I have. So people downplay the importance of wealth, but it is essential for protecting self and loved ones, right? We don't know, sitting here today, we can't predict tomorrow, right? We don't know how much money we'll need in the future, right? So building wealth is extremely important for ourselves, for our loved ones, for our kids, for our grandchildren. We can't tell what's going to happen. Successful investors time the market. So time in the market beats timing the market, right? And Chris, you made a comment yesterday. We were talking about the numbers for our real estate market, right? And how consistent they are, right? And I've been doing this for 8 years now, and how consistent they have been for 8 years, right? There's very little variance truly in the numbers of the real estate market, as an example. So you don't ever want to think you can time the market and that's how you win. So wealthy people don't time it, they're always in, right? They're always paying attention, looking for the right opportunity. They don't just all of a sudden wake up one day and say, oh, I think today's the moment to go buy a house. Doesn't work that way, right? All good opportunities are gone. Every generation has wealth building opportunities. Right? So every generation has wealth building opportunities. When people are saying now is not a good time to invest, that's when the wealthy go invest. Right? In 2021, I'll give you an example, all right? So for all the realtors in the room, you probably know in 2021, prices were on the way up quite significantly. We were selling a lot of real estate, and a lot of investors said, I'm going to take the year off because things are too expensive. All right. I bought 14 homes that year. Okay. Why? Because there was no competition, because a lot of investors took the year off because they decided it wasn't good. But you don't know. I mean, the what, and I'm using real estate as an example here because that's my expertise. People aren't all about money when it comes to selling real estate. They want something else that's important to them. They want time, they want control of possession, they want something else. And they're willing to not sacrifice, but they're willing to tell you their priorities so you can help them get what they want. And you as an investor can get what you want as well. And everyone's happy, right? So when everyone else said, I'm not buying, I was like, oh, not buying it, right? So I wasn't timing the market. I was always in the market. The best investments have insider knowledge that, normal people don't have, right? Again, that's just not true. The best investments is always in areas where we have understanding. So go get your knowledge, figure out what you want to do. If Brian Hazley and I want to go do more self-storage, well, we've taken a master class in the hard knocks of self-storage, right, Brian?
Got a college education.
Yes, it's a very expensive one. But we have the knowledge to make better decisions in the future. And then even if I want to, I'm not capable. You can't predict what you can and cannot do until you try. All right. Gary Keller wrote the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. All right. It's
The investor book?
probably what's
The
that?
blue book, the investment
book.
book.
Yep, we call it the blue book. So Millionaire Real Estate Investor. He wrote a book about becoming a real estate investor. It's probably 350 pages long. The first 150 pages, the first 1/3 of the book, is all about getting past the fear of becoming an investor. 1/3 of the book. Because he said that's the obstacle that keeps 90% of people on the sidelines. It's just that fear of the first one. After you buy the first one, it becomes so much easier.
Yeah, I'm gonna chime into that just a little bit. So being partners with Rob and being on the team that we are, that was my biggest fear. That's what kept me from being an investor over and over and over again. I had the knowledge. I could see on paper all of the numbers, but there was still something inside of me that was just like a big gut check that it still seemed scary. Even though I had the knowledge, I knew it, it still seemed scary. And so what I needed to be able to move forward was smaller pieces of investments so that I could dip my toe in the water and realize for myself, okay, this is actually how it works. This is a very small amount. So we're going to talk about that next, but how you think about money and what your fears and your own personal view is, like you need to figure out what helps you get over that fear. And that's why we built the syndications that we did that allowed people to invest in real estate with just $2,500 in, because that was what I needed as a very small amount to feel like I could take that next step. And now I have my own short-term rental, but I would have never bought that house without 2 years of doing it in little teeny tiny pieces
But it's
first.
not just a short-term rental. What is it really?
I mean, it's my whole everything. Like
It's your lake house.
it's my lake house for my family, but it's also a short-term rental. It's a second it's all the things that were on my plan. It was a written plan, and I never thought that I would get there because I was just a W-2 normal employee making $40,000 a year. So the idea of having a lake house property as a rental, that seemed so far out of reach because I made $40,000 a year. But yet I could make that happen once I had the knowledge and once I moved past the fear of doing it in little teeny tiny sections.
So now you can feel very comfortable buying 25 of them and being okay.
I don't know about that. One at a time is
My
plenty.
question is that what I'm trying to get to is whether it's the first one or the 25 of them, it's still only numbers and you know the numbers.
Right,
So it's just moving the,
right. If you can take
Yeah.
the emotion out of it, that gut check, the fear, the emotion is what holds you back a lot of times.
And I'll tell you, her hesitation is based on the noise level, how busy it is to run more than one,
Right.
right? So when I say noise, I'm saying specifically like there is a cost of your time and attention and maybe some anxiety and sleepless nights when it comes to investing or whatever it is, particularly real estate, right? So you
But-
said that, and I know immediately she was thinking, 25 short-term rentals, I don't know about that. But
Well,
she does have the knowledge.
And we are going to also cover other investments that aren't noisy, things that you need to understand about 401ks and self-directed IRAs and things like that. Traditional ways that you can just give your money to a person to manage, that is still an investment,
Passive.
So there are still ways to do investing at any level. If you are 12 years old, you can start an investment now.
So what was your little baby steps?
That was my $2,500 share in a Airbnb. So I bought a $2,500 share in an Airbnb so I could see behind the scenes how it all worked, what was going to happen with it. And then after 2 years of doing that, I understood very well what the risk was, what the vacancy rate was, what that kind of stuff was.
Her goal was to have that lake house paid for by other people. And that's what she's accomplished in
Yep.
November of 2023.
So we've run it for almost 3 years, and each year it costs us anywhere between $2,000 and $5,000 total for the whole year. So everybody else pays everything else. So that to me is a win. But do I want 25 of those? Well, I don't know if I want to be able to pay $5,000 to run a year, 25 of those. But for us personally, we get to go use it at least once every month. And other people are paying the mortgage on that. So
At the end of the day, we want you to take away that it is fear, most likely that's held you back if you haven't taken that leap yet. And that fear is the hardest part. So go get the knowledge, eliminate the risk by having the information and knowledge you need. And then once you make your first endeavor, once you make that first purchase, whatever that is, it becomes 10 times easier. I don't know. I got a lot of master investors in this room. They probably all would say like that first one was the hardest.
Yeah, paying for an education.
So, okay,
All right, moving on. We're gonna talk about how did we get here? And maybe this part, if you've studied money, investing things, this might be new to you. So how you got here has a lot to do with how your parents taught you to think about money. Intentionally or unintentionally, they were teaching you how to feel about money, whether you had any idea that they were teaching you about money or not. Okay, so what money classroom did you grow up in? So we're going to take a minute to just talk about everyone was raised in one of these 4 money classrooms. Okay,
this is such a fun conversation. I mean,
so you can see there's two kind of continuums, right? So you have closed or open. That means, did they talk about money? Did they not talk about money? Okay. And then stressed or calm. When they did talk about money, was it a calm conversation or was it a very loud, frantic type conversation? And depending how you heard your parents talk or not talk about money, and the way that they did informs how you feel about money. Whether or not you even know it, this is what's going on with your programming in your mind and in your brain. Okay, so number 1, the anxious classroom. The anxious classroom means that it was verbally closed, so they did not talk about money much, but it was emotionally stressful. Okay, so maybe you felt the tension growing up. You knew that there were money problems going on, but nobody explained what was going on because you just knew that there was tension around money and you didn't know why. Okay, and so if you grew up in that classroom today as an adult, your biggest challenge may be that you don't like talking about money. You don't want to have those conversations with your spouse, with anyone else. You just would rather not think about it, put your head in the sand, whatever, because talking about money feels icky to you. It feels gross. It makes you feel insecure to talk about money. Okay. Number 2, the unstable classroom. Okay, so unstable means that it was still stressful, but it was very open. So maybe your mom and dad yelled and got into very verbal, loud arguments about money. So you for sure knew the reason for the stress in your house. You knew that money
for divorce, right?
Right,
Just money.
70%.
Yeah.
Have to do with money fights, right? So, or you grew up in a classroom where there was very little consistency around money. So you would hear things like, oh no, we can't afford it. But the next month you could afford it. Or at the beginning of the month, you could go buy a lot of things. And then at the end of the month, everybody was super stressed because there wasn't enough money to pay the light bill. Okay. So if you grew up in that unstable, not sure what to expect about money, then as an adult, you now carry that programming. Maybe you're super emotional about money. Maybe your purchases or decisions are very emotional around money. Or maybe you're apathetic about money. Like it caused so much stress and fighting in your life that you're just willing to let someone else handle all the decisions for you because you don't even want to think about it. Okay. Again, it has all to do with that programming. You didn't even know was happening, how you grew up. Okay. 3, unaware. So this would be calm, but closed. Okay. So things were not stressful for you, but nobody ever talked about money. Okay, so life was good for you when you were a kid. You never knew that there was any tension. You never knew that there was any stress. You never knew whether you had money or didn't. You just were allowed to play and not worry about money at all. Okay, but your parents also didn't have those conversations with you about how hard it was to actually pay for things, what it actually took to pay that tuition bill or that light bill, or how long it took to build up to save for that car, right? So if you grew up in that unaware classroom, then as an adult, you might have, or thinking about how you parent your kids, right? Then there might be a lot of shock over real life costs. How hard actually is it? You just think, oh, life was pretty easy, and you're expecting that level of life without knowing how hard it is to actually get there. Okay. And you have to be careful because behaving responsibly or avoiding conflict, things like that, because that is out of the norm for you. Okay. And then last is the secure classroom. That means your parents were calm about money and they discussed it, right? This is what we want to strive to also model for our children or people who are under our influence. But if you were lucky enough to be raised in this classroom, you as an adult might have the challenge of, again, underestimating how hard that is to actually do. So underestimating all that it takes, and possibly maybe even feeling entitled or that you know it because you learned it early, but you still don't have that real world experience of actually living it out. Okay. Now, to add to the complication, not only did you grow up in one of these money classrooms, but if you are married or with a significant other,
Or
your
a business partner.
spouse or a business partner, your spouse or business partner or significant other also grew up in one of these money classrooms, possibly one that's very different from yours, right? So then you now have two people who have two different methods of programming in their brain now trying to come together and make a budget or a business decision. You've got a lot of obstacles to overcome, right? So just real quick, do you relate? Can you identify which one of these money classrooms you grew up in?
No judgment. If anybody wants to share out loud.
I grew up in 3, but I'm living in 1.
Okay.
Okay,
I mean, I think you could be in more than one at the same time.
sure.
I think I'm somewhere between 1 and 2.
Okay,
Yeah, that's
With where I
definitely
grew up.
what I grew up as 1 and 2. Yeah.
okay.
I grew up in 3 as well.
I grew up in 3.
I'd say I was a high 3.5, like not calm, but closer to the stress, like
Gotcha.
up there, yeah.
Critter, what about you?
I think I'm at 4 now, but I think that I started out in 1.
Okay. How many of you can know what your spouse grew up in? What did Tracy grow up in?
She grew up in 2. Yeah. Cause if I bring up money, it's like I started a fight and all I said was, hey, what's that credit card charge for that? I'm just making sure we didn't get hacked. But she immediately takes it as I'm accusing her of spending something that we didn't need to spend. And I was like, no, I just want to know what this website is because I don't remember.
I think my husband is also
You can
between
get
a 1
hacked,
and 2.
right? So, but she won't look at it herself, so I have to, that's my job each month is to bring up the difficult conversations, right? But yeah, I can definitely tell she came up with 2. So so actually, when we did this class the first time, we specifically said, we did it at night, and we said, bring your spouse. So, which isn't always available in the afternoon, because we did a whole exercise where we made them talk about it. The energy in the room. Man,
We do it.
yeah,
So our next class after this is actually how to talk about money with your spouse. That is next, that is budget and communication.
Sign me up for that one. I'll be here.
All right.
Bring your spouse in and we'll talk directly to them at the next one, all right?
So this ain't working now. I wouldn't reply.
look,
Talks to me about money, I shut down. Like immediately, I don't want to talk about it. Don't come up because it's going to immediately cause. If we have any kind of fight, it's always about our finances.
We don't fight with it as long as she listens.
Well, that would be what he says
Or what?
too.
It doesn't work because he doesn't listen.
we should have made a rule, no spouse.
Next to.
Where do you think the wealthy live? I mean, maybe the answer isn't obvious though.
I think even as a wealthy person, I could see how they could still raise their child in an unaware classroom, right?
100%.
Sure, oh, absolutely.
So
I also know wealthy people, men and women, who their spouse is just along for the ride and knows nothing about what's happening.
Yep.
So they're in 2 different classrooms, but they're content with that. Brett Tanner, who runs KW Wealth, his wife, out of the business. She just spends money, does charitable things. At this point, I mean, he makes, $400,000 a month. But she is not in the conversation at all, and that's the way she wants it, and that's the way he wants it. But they have to know that, and you have to have an agreement. And hopefully the one person that's making the decisions is smart enough to do it right.
Right, well, that makes me nervous just because I watched my sister do that, right? Like she was married to a very wealthy man who made all the decisions. She knew nothing. I would ask her like, oh, and she had no clue about any of their finances. Well, now they're not married anymore. She had a really hard life lesson to have to figure out because she never learned how to do anything because she was just
Yep.
delegating that off to him, so I think everybody needs to understand the basic principles.
We're not trying to cause divorce.
Yes.
And yet, we recognize that to move to the next level from an investment standpoint or wealthy standpoint, we've got to figure out how to have conversations, productive conversations around money, right? And that is, we bring this up, this is like, I think this is a great, fun conversation to have until you have to have it with your spouse.
You said
To
fun.
be honest, right? Well, I think it's
Run a spouse.
I think it's so important. I say fun because I like talking about money, period. Even though my wife and I, she does cause stress because she doesn't want to know. She just wants to let me take care of it. And sometimes I want her to know, right? And she's been in this room with me talking about this, so I'm not saying anything that she doesn't already know.
That
She was,
is where me and my
Yeah, for
husband
sure.
are. He wants me to know. I don't want to know.
yeah. Well, and again, that can work for some people. But you gotta have a lot of trust. There's gotta be other trust going on there too, right? But I think sometimes it's important for the partners, I think about Buffy and I as business partners now for a couple of years. Specifically, we have to make big financial decisions and I have to understand how she thinks about money and she has to understand how I think about money, otherwise the business doesn't work. Right?
Well, here's a good, bigger point, you're talking about your sister and getting divorced and so on and so forth, don't know. We're at the age, if something happens to me, she better know it because she's gonna have to take on it and keep going. And
Right.
so
Yeah.
that's the other
It's
side.
not just divorce that you have to be thinking about, right? It's about other decisions later in life too, right? So. I think ultimately though, Chris, I saw you nodding about this. It is truly, if you go back to that slide for a second. I think more important than the conversation about what your spouse think and what do you think, what are you teaching your kids? I mean, a lot of us, my big why, is my kids, my grandkids. So I want them to have, the right money classroom to grow up in. That's really important to me because I didn't, I grew up in 3. I had no idea what was going on. So guess what? School of hard knocks. 1999, I had to file bankruptcy because at the time I had my ex-wife was doing things that I didn't know she was doing. And we were just doing, what's when you get money off a credit card? When you get cash.
Cash advance.
Cash advance, yeah. I've never done it since, but cash advance out the wazoo every month with their bills. And she kept telling me everything was fine because she was a bank manager. I trusted her. Right? At the end of the day, I was choosing to be unaware and it cost me a lot. Right? So,
Well, Rob, I think you brought up a great point of, the number one reason for divorce is money, whatever it is.
not even close, yeah.
Yeah, not even close. It's like way ahead of everything else. And I've been married for 27 years, high school sweetheart, all of that stuff. And so we don't have that issue. We've had, money issues, but we don't have that now as far as us talking about it. We're very open about that. And if that is something in your relationship with a business partner or a spouse, it's the number one thing. So it's the number one thing you need to address.
Mhm.
To really have that wholesome relationship of, even in your partnerships, if he was handling all the money, you'd freak the heck out.
Yes, I would.
Yeah, so I think it's very, very important that you keep that in mind, that it is the number one thing that breaks up partnerships and it breaks up divorce. Or it breaks up marriage. So why not address that while we're all happy? While we're in love?
And thinking of why we're doing this first, right? Like if you want to talk about investing $1 million into a storage facility later on, or making a real estate investment, how do you expect to have those type of conversations unless you can have the first ones first? So I would not trust my spouse to be able to make a purchase like that as an investment if we're not able to communicate about money on just the basics. So
Okay. Uncomfortable conversation. We all kind of chuckle, but we get it, it's hard. We get it, it's hard, but it's important. And awareness is the first step.
Oh, wait a second. Wait a second. I'm supposed to be doing my job and I'm not. There's something on chat.
Okay.
somewhere.
great.
I don't see it.
Up at the top.
At the top, you see the little two,
He has a different screen, maybe.
I think you can still
I
click
can't see that.
right here. You
Look
can
at the
click
side.
right
Look
there.
it over the
That's your
side.
screen.
I don't have that.
You have the side? You have the side chat open.
It might be, you might need to pull the screen up from the bottom a little bit.
No, he has it over there. I don't see anything in there though. Okay.
Printer's not in charge of.
It might just be like the notification that,
I should be up there talking. Screw my voice. Have to listen to it.
so Ari says, great explanation and very interesting.
All right, awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Feedback.
Okay, so know yourself, the 7 money tendencies. So after you figure out what money classroom you're in, now you need to figure out where you and your spouse lie on the continuum of these 7 money tendencies. Okay, so first, saver versus spender. Okay, and it doesn't mean that you're all the way over here or all the way over here. You could be anywhere in the middle. So if on any of these 7, right, imagine them more like this type of a line. And you could be here, you could be here, you could be way over here. Okay, so it's a continuum, but you and your spouse are probably going to be at different points on this line. Okay, so
And it's a roller coaster all.
one of you might be more of the saver and one of you might be more of the spender. Okay, and my marriage relationship, I'm definitely more of the saver. My husband is more of the spender. If you know him, I know you're gonna have real, problems seeing that. Okay, experiences or things. What do you like to spend your money on? Would you rather spend your money on something that is an experience or a memory or something that you're going to like have photos of and have the warm fuzzies about? Or is it something that you're going to actually physically hold on to, right? There's, again, no right or wrong. It's just these are kind of your natural tendencies.
And the point is they can conflict.
Yeah.
Right, so one person wants to go on a nice vacation, the other person wants a fancy car. Right, that's 2 different things. One's a thing, one's an experience, right?
Okay. Abundance or scarcity. Do you see that there's plenty, enough for everyone? Or do you feel like there's never enough for anyone? And so you want to be really careful to conserve what it is that you have. Okay.
Big one. The idea of abundance mindset versus scarcity mindset. That shows up not only around money, it shows up on other things too.
Yep. Nerd or free spirit. Do you like to know all the things about budgets and spreadsheets and QuickBooks? Do you like all those things? Or are you more of a free spirit? You don't really care. You just want to be able to be told you can spend the money. And that's all you care about. Okay. Safety or status. Would you rather have does money make you feel safe? Or does money make you feel proud or like that you can, I don't know another way to describe status, but
Keeping up with the Joneses.
right, like does it make you feel good to have money or does it make you feel safe to have money? Which of those
I
two
feel so
things?
good though, but it's this level of status is, I want the best car, I want the biggest house, I want to have the new clothes, I want all the shiny things. Because that shows like we have money.
Right.
I want fancy jewelry or whatever else. Not me, but
I don't know. All right, and then how do you approach giving? Are you a planned giver? Do you like a plan around how you're going to give money away? Like, do you have certain specific charities and you want to give to those charities at certain times of the year? Or are you more of a spontaneous giver and you're one of the people that likes to pull up next to a homeless person and just, give them what you have in your car? So that can also cause some conflicting views, right? Like, I think both of you can be on the same page as far as you both want to give, but how you give might be two different things. Okay. And then quality over quantity. Would you rather have one really nice thing, or would you rather have like multiples of the cheaper thing? So for me, if I find like a pair of jeans that I like, these jeans, I have 7 of them, just so you know. Different colors, but once I find something I like, I would rather have multiples of that than have like one thing. So, okay. So again, this is not, there's no right or wrong with where you fall on the continuum or which one you are. And you don't even need to change where you are on the continuum. You just need to understand it. You just need to know that it's a thing so you can have awareness around it.
Yeah, and if we're talking about husband and wives or whatever, it's this awareness of how they are and how they do things, because you can't have a good conversation if you don't have awareness first, right? And again, so this is really about awareness for you. When you do get the notes from this class, this is a great start. Right, you are doing that next week, right? Having the conversation.
Yeah, I would say homework, like for this especially, is take these 7, draw them out on a line, and actually pick where do you fall on the line. And then have your spouse or business partner or whatever do in a different color, where do they fit on the line? And once you graph where you are on those lines, then you can see, hey, are there any of these that maybe are more extreme than moderate? And are there any steps, like maybe if one's way over here and one's way over here, are there any steps that would make us feel a little more aligned if we just took a step towards each other in that direction? Okay. And just thinking as a follow-up question, when was the last time that you experienced anger or frustration over how someone else was handling money? And did it have anything to do maybe with one of these tendencies?
Brian, you look over at Linda, you look over at Brian every single time. I love it.
Sunday night, Bloomington, Indiana, my wife bought some Indiana t-shirts because she doesn't have enough, and it irritated the hell out of me. I'll just
You
say,
did it really well at the game.
I faked the game, basketball game, but I was like, you have a whole closet full of stuff. Yeah, but we're going to the Peach Bowl now. Okay, well, great. Now we have new clothes. Anyway. There you go. That's my example.
She wants to make and the experiences.
Yes, I mean, it's interesting. You say, I don't understand.
I apparently have no clothes to wear until I go on vacation. I mean, I wear nothing because I need all new outfits when I go on vacation.
There you go. And I'm sure your husband's like, what are you doing? We got stuff.
I know I take care of my business.
Oh,
Okay,
boy, what
I
a mean.
can't make it.
It's being recorded. Crap.
Don't edit that part out.
Or hold it over your head.
Come on. Hold on, I'm trying to get it to advance and it doesn't want to go to the next slide. Come on, computer. There we go. All right, Rob, this is you.
6 money fears. We're gonna talk about your fears and then the truths. That's what we talked a little bit about fears a few minutes ago. We're gonna dive a little deeper here. So one of the money fears is the fears of not having enough. So it's okay. If something bad happens, I won't survive. All right, well, here's the truth. So fear is powerful, but not always logical. Focus on baby steps. Having an emergency fund, let's say just even $1,000 to start, gets you out of most games, right? So if you have a fear of not having enough, start with an emergency fund. That's the truth, okay? Fear of time running out. Not enough time to do what I've always wanted to do, all right? Well, think about it this way. So don't give up on your dreams, just be realistic about what will take to get there. right? Be realistic, have a plan, and you can get there. Fear of past mistakes. I'll never get ahead because of the really bad money mistakes I've made in the past. All right, so the truth is you must take charge of your money. Personal finance is personal. It doesn't take an MBA to win with money. Money, honestly, is very simple to understand, right? Most of us believe we don't know enough to do what we need to do because we don't spend the time to control it. All right, that's the truth. Fear is not fear of not being capable. I can't win with money because I'm not smart enough. Okay, I just actually reversed mine. So again, it's just making it personal. All right, it's not an MBA. They should teach this in high school. They could probably teach this even in middle school, right? The basics of money, not just math, but actual money. And they don't do it. So fear of external forces. I can't succeed because of how the world works. Well,
This would be like people who are afraid to invest or buy a house or do anything because they're waiting for their candidate to come into office.
Yeah.
Or they're worried about what taxes are gonna, like it's all the things that they don't have anything to do with.
right. So the truth is you're in charge of your life. You can choose how to spend, you can choose how to save, you can choose how to invest. It's up to you. Your circumstances don't define you. How you handle them does. Fear of repeating the past, scared of ending up just like my parents. You can choose new money role models. They're everywhere. I mean, that's what the books we recommended, right? I grew up in a household that had no conversation. My parents still won't talk about money. I have no idea how much they have. So when they pass, it's going to be a surprise to me and my brothers and sisters. What's going on? I have no idea. They won't talk about it.
Ditto.
So yeah, so I have to go find like a Robert Kiyosaki or a Gary Keller or a Dave Ramsey, whoever, to learn about money. So there's just a million role models out there, and it's your choice to go follow those people. All right, so if you think about these fears, take a second, just kind of read through them again and rank them in order of your biggest fears to your smallest fears. All right.
So what would you say fear of, okay, so I have 10,000 in savings account, but my fear is I don't want to spend it. Like it's in the savings account, just there. What's that kind of fear? Like, oh, okay, we can go do this, but then the money's gone. Like
Okay.
that security, I guess, is
Yeah.
gone.
It's a fear of not having security, right? So, all right, so what is that fear costing you?
It's probably cost me a lot.
You know how much it's costing you.
I do not.
Okay, so is it a checking account, savings account,
It's a savings account,
and what's the return on that savings account?
really.
Nothing, okay? Based on inflation, you're probably losing every month about $38 for every $10,000 that you have doing nothing. So which means the value of $2,000 goes down and down and down and down. The purchasing power of those dollars goes down and down and down. So maybe we can change it up. So there should be this idea of, okay, it's not really security, it's not doing anything for you, right? And it doesn't have to be $10,000 going to buy a house. It could be just $10,000 in a CD, $10,000 in a T-bill, or something else we're gonna talk about later on in one of the other classes, right? Because there's a lot of things you can do with that money to make it even more secure, but actually to grow, to help you become even more mentally secure around decisions around money. Okay?
I got a
$10,000 is powerful.
My question to you is, if it was $10,000 and you feel that way, if you had $100,000 in there, you probably will still feel that way.
Yep.
Or $500,000 or $1 million, you'd still feel that way.
When we talk about budgeting. He's really looking at about 7. Next class, telling you. Wow, Ryan. He didn't even gotta hide it.
I have no filter today.
All right, let's see. So you raise a good point, though. Was it about $10,000 or is it about something else, right? So in the budgeting class, we'll talk about this idea of reserves, right? And your answer is different than your answer is different than your answer. Everybody has a different number. Like some people are good with 2 months of reserves, some people need 2 years of reserves. And there is no right answer, it's just your answer. So there's something there keeping you there, right? But what I would challenge you to do is get excited about how to best optimize that fund. Right? When you start to optimize that, you start to eliminate fears that may be invisible. Well, and we're going to talk about what you can do with that $10,000 later on in one of these classes. And I want you to get excited about the opportunity and not nervous about the opportunity. Right?
Okay.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Any other thoughts around the fears about where you are personally?
Mine is the reason that I'm late. I took my dad to the doctor and he's probably gonna have to have a big major surgery in about 2 weeks. And so it's what, if something bad happens, does he have enough? Cause I mean, I know that he's okay, but I don't know how much, and like what, there's that fear around the unknown and what happens to, my one brother would chip in, my other brother needs to be bailed out all the time. I mean, so it's like there's the fear around the family and what I can do to help my family if needed.
Yeah.
And that's like,
So it has you holding on to money because of it?
it has me wringing my hands. Yeah.
Mm.
And fretting about it. I mean, yeah, fret, it's the word right there.
I
But
think
yeah,
that example is why it's such a big thing to counteract that misunderstanding in the beginning about that I'm content with what I have or I don't need to build wealth. So I was raised in a very conservative religious background that was kind of like, oh, too much money is a bad, like you need to be more like Mother Teresa and like not have much and give it all to the poor and that kind of thing. So almost like wealth is a bad idea. And it's because of that we need to counteract some of that ingrained teaching in my head too, that no, building wealth and trying to make more money is so that I can help those around me.
Before we move on to the next section and related to that conversation, I want to talk about something that's not in the slides. We have time.
Okay.
I tend to overtalk. Yeah, but it's this idea of the money classroom and the language that we hold around money. So if I were to say money is the root of all evil, you all know that. How about if money is good for the,
good that it does.
you know that because you're Keller Williams,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Did you know that? You know that's a Keller Williams saying, right?
Is that
I
what
had
it is?
never
That's
heard
a
that
Keller
before.
thing. Money is good for the good it can do. Did you grow up around that conversation?
No.
Okay, so in parenting and teaching our kids around money, there's 2 ways. So let's say that one of my kids wants to go to Disney World. Right? There's 2 responses to that. All right. We can't afford that. And by saying that to your kids, you're telling your kids money is scarce, scarcity mindset, right? Or you could say, okay, well, let's figure out how we can afford that. You're teaching there's an abundance mindset. So I basically said, look, it's a challenge. Let's go figure it out. Or it's a challenge and we're not going to figure it out. So how you talk to your kids is so extremely important because Amy, the conversation with you around money and your family and all the things that you said about one brother this, one brother that, and your dad is a result of how you all view money growing up. Right? So if we want to have an abundance mindset, we have to ask abundant questions. Right? How could we? If you want to teach your kids about money, and I know probably a lot of you do this, a 10-year-old wants to buy your son. Liam, tell us about the Christmas project.
Yeah, so we were really, really proud of him. He wanted a 3D printer. Now, I don't know if you know how much those things are, but they're like $300 to $500. So he was going to ask Santa for a 3D printer. And I was like, no, you are not asking Santa for a 3D printer. Santa is not getting you a 3D printer. But you can work to make the money for a 3D
And how old is
printer.
he?
He's 10.
Yeah.
And he saved his money all last year. And he was $100 short this year. So then we made a plan, and it was really tempting because he had worked so hard so far to just chip in that other $100 and let him get it. But I would have been taking something away from him, that sense of pride and accomplishment for having he did it himself all on his own. And so we made a plan. He sold some Christmas trees that he made to different people, some of my friends and family members or whatever, but he put in the work and he learned about, hey, this is what I have to know about running a business, that, you know, so he made enough money to buy his 3D printer himself, and then he had to pay for the supplies. He had to, you know, had to throw in some other money lessons in there. But he learned way more valuable of a lesson than if I had just let Santa get it for him, or even if I had contributed the extra
Or I
$100.
just said, no, we can't afford it.
So that cheap ass Santa Claus didn't even show up.
No, he got it from the army of clone force.
The point is, we have opportunities every day inside our families to have great money conversations. We choose to have the wrong conversation, and we choose to have the scarcity conversation instead of the abundance conversation. I think that's one of the things, this is just me this is a personal conversation for me in Keller Williams, because I had always believed that money was the root of all evil. Money doesn't grow on trees, right? Those are all scarcity mindsets. Instead of money is good for the good it can do. And the fact is, there's opportunity everywhere to make money. We just have to go seek it out. Right? That's how the wealthy become wealthy, is they saw opportunity where we see no, where we see challenges and can't get up. That's it. And I grew up in an upper middle class family. So we had vacations, we had things, we had a boat, we had all the things. But I didn't know how we got them. I didn't know anything about that.
Well, and I was opposite. Like, I grew up dirt poor, and my parents just kind of made it fun. Like, when the summer was going on, we only had a 1-room air conditioner in one room. So it was great fun. Like, I didn't know that there was anything wrong of why we had to sleep on pallets on the floor in the living room, because that was the only cool room in the house. Like, that was just an adventure. So, like, they did a good job of disguising all of the money troubles that we had, but I also didn't learn anything about how actually poor we were until I became an adult. And I was like, oh, we were really poor. I just didn't know it.
With different levels of economy and yet the same type of classroom.
Right. Yep.
But you respect that being poor more probably than you would if you had money just flowing easily.
Probably. I mean, again, it all comes down to what you learn about money and the situation that you're in. It doesn't matter what situation you're in. You can always learn from the situation that you're in.
Well, we can look at generations and the tendencies of generations about money classroom, because if you have parents, or Brian, if you grew up in the Great Depression, just joking, if you had parents that grew up, or grandparents who grew up in the Great Depression, guess what? They didn't probably throw nothing away. They didn't throw nothing away. So when they passed, you had to throw it all away because they would not throw it away.
Yeah, my mom washes solo
Yeah.
cups and
Yes.
Ziploc
yes.
baggies, and
Mom could be best friends.
And
Mom, we are not washing the
yeah,
floor.
it's the generation today, the Generation Z or whatever they are, the 20-somethings, they don't want any of that stuff because they grew up more in an abundance environment. They didn't experience a Great Depression. So they view money as something that can be tossed away, or items that don't have value is tossed away, doesn't have value to them. So that provides its own challenges.
All right, only 2 more slides, and then we can answer any questions or whatever. So this one just says wealth is hidden. It's the income that's not spent. So it's not about how much you make, it's about how much you keep. Okay, so personal savings, frugality are parts of the money equation that are in your control and have 100% chance of being as effective in the future as they are today. Okay, so just making wise decisions with when you spend money, when you don't spend money. So we're actually going to talk a little bit about how do we start. Okay, so we've talked about how to understand ourselves and awareness about ourselves, but how do we actually start? So we have to know where we are, and then we have to make a plan to get to where we want to go. Okay, so these are the 7 levels of financial freedom. So first figure out which one you're on, and then figure out how to get to the next one. Okay, so your first very bottom level is self-sufficiency. Okay, you can cover your basic needs. You have food, you have shelter, you have transportation. You can pay for those things without having to put it on a credit card or be in debt. Okay, that is the first level of financial freedom. If you're not even there yet, get there. Get where you can pay for your food and your shelter and your transportation without having to put it on a credit card, right? Okay. Then next, breathing room. You can do cover the basics and you actually have a small buffer, right? So you can start paying down anything that you have with debt so you have a little bit left over at the end of the month. That's level 2. Okay, level 3, stability. You have your funded emergency fund is in place. And then you are out of debt, your high interest debt is eliminated, and your essential expenses are covered. Okay, so stability is where your reserves are in place and you don't have new debt happening that isn't your choice of intentional things like that. Okay, and then level 4. Why did I say 7? There's only 6 here. I'm missing one.
Well, the first level is you're below.
Oh, maybe, hold on. I wonder if this, nope, doesn't go up. All right, well, I don't know. I don't know where it went. Flexibility. So now you have some passive income coming in and you can cover your essential expenses with passive income. So money that you don't work for is coming in to cover some of those essentials. And so then you can choose to have more freedom with whether you work or don't work or how many hours you are working because you have passive income coming in. Everybody understand what passive income is? Like money that's generating money that you're not working. Okay. And then financial independence is where your passive income is not just covering part of your living expenses, but it's actually covering all of your living expenses. And so now you truly have the option to work or not because your expenses are actually all covered by passive income. And then abundant wealth at the very top, you are able to live your ideal life, giving generously and pursuing the passions and the things that you want without worrying about the finances behind it. Okay, so you have to know where you are to make a plan to get to where you want to go. Another way to describe this, so level 1 and 2, clarity is just figuring out that you need to know where you are. And then self-sufficiency, what they call it too, is you've moved out of mom and dad's and you can cover your expenses. Okay, now 50% of American workers are at that level. 50% of everyone that we know is on this level right here or below. Okay, so just know which one you are and then figure out how to get to the next one. We're going to hopefully help you do that. And it kind of starts with having a plan and a way to do that, which we will cover. All right.
Don't be afraid of what we're covering next budget. Not today, but the next class, right? Because a lot of people that work budget means something that it truly isn't supposed to be. Budget equals freedom.
All right. Rob, this is our last slide on what habits make us wealthy.
What habits make us wealthy? So doing well with money has little to do with how smart you are and a lot to do with how you behave. Behavior is hard to teach, even to really smart people. And so control your time. The highest dividend money pays is the ability to control your time and how you spend it, freeing you from external demands. Embrace humility. One of the most powerful ways to increase savings isn't to raise your income, but to raise your humility and live below your means. All right? I mean, we all fall into a trap. We make more money, we spend more money. We make more money, we spend more money. All right, mind the ego income gap. When you define savings as the gap between your ego and your income, you understand why many with decent incomes save so little. All right, you drive through these fancy neighborhoods and you think, oh, well, they must have just abundant wealth. Well, they might very well be house poor, right? Because they have this giant house with lots of things in it and they have no money, it's all on credit cards. You don't know, right? Gary Keller, again, the founder of Keller Williams here would say that one's success around anything, around life, around money, around business is defined by our habits. All right, it's what we do every day without thinking about it that makes us wealthy. All right. Questions about that?
Okay.
So it's January, it's the time we all got new goals, new habits we're trying to build, right? It's the perfect time to get your money habits lined up too, not just your, I was at the gym last night, and I couldn't find a parking spot at the Planet Fitness on Grand Line Road, it was crazy. Parked by the donut shop, which is really, why do they have a donut shop? Parking lot of Planet.
Wow, donut shop, strange.
Which are thankfully it was closed, so. But yeah, so, it was funny because I'm seeing all these new people in the gym, but I'm wondering at the same time, how many people will be here in February? So how many of you will start down this journey of building money habits? Like running a budget, checking your account balances at least weekly, all right?
You wanna tell us about National Quitters Day?
I'd love to,
Go for it.
yeah, so.
You got 3 minutes.
I have 3 minutes?
3 minutes.
Okay, anybody familiar with the app called Strava? No? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's for runners.
Mhm.
My son's a runner, so that's how I know about it. And it's an app that tracks people's goals and then what they actually physically go out and do, right? Mainly running a whole bunch. And January 18th is what Strava has come to call, they've been in business for like 15 years. And they call it National Quitters Day, January 18th, because it is the day which the majority of people have now given up on their goals. So don't be a victim of January 18th. Right, whatever that means for you.
The YMCA, we've had this conversation the other day with the front desk people. They said by January 9th is when everything starts to
They start
fall
to fall
off.
off, yeah.
And then, yeah,
No, stop.
so we got three more days and then we can go back to the gym.
And get our parking spots back.
So, but there's a lot of habits. I mean, habits for me look like every week checking my account balances and recording the information. And then I'm also like trying to figure out my net worth, which is your assets minus your liabilities. Hopefully it's in a positive for you. But then tracking that, because that's also a measure of wealth, at least the lenders like to think it is. So, tracking those things on a regular basis. A lot of the wealthy people that I know that I've learned from talk about having financial dates or money dates with their spouse, like once a month, twice a month, once a week. That seems a lot,
So
but
I have figured out the perfect money date to have. So getting my husband reined in to have an actual budget conversation has been a challenge. However, I have found if we go out onto the porch and I bring an old fashioned and a cigar outside of our fire pit, he will have any conversation that I want. So that's my advice. Bring an old fashioned and a cigar to your fire pit and you might be able to get your spouse out there. Now, in reverse, I don't know how that would work. I don't know what Tracy might want. Probably not an old fashioned and a cigar, but so figure out what might get them to talk with you.
either way, it's a habit, right? To do it consistently, right? Whether you do it once a week. And the reason why I think money habits are hard for most people is because habits that you don't do every day, right, are harder to build, right? You can go to the gym every day and you can build that habit in a month. But if you only visit your money once a month, that's a really long runway to build a habit. So you got to think about in the upfront, be disciplined enough to do it frequently enough to build the habit to where you want to check it, that you feel the reward of knowing where you are, so you can then execute on the plan that you have. Right?
All right, so we have 15 minutes. You can either ask any questions. We'll look in the chat if you have anything more that you want to ask about, or you can tell us anything that stood out to you, a takeaway, an aha, we call it, something that maybe resonated with you, or if you have feedback on what we should or shouldn't do if we teach this again, then let us know that too. So anyone have any questions or something that they want to share that they It's my scam likely calls. I want to get 6 more, don't worry.
I thought this was great. I think that like kind of like is it Amy? Kind of like you in that sense of, and I think a lot of women are this way. Is like we just are always thinking like 2 steps ahead of all the different variables, and so kind of understanding the behind the scenes is nice because partners.
She was smarter than her husband. Is that what she just said?
Oh well, yeah. No question, but
I love it. I love it. Thank you, Brett. Yeah. When I took the class, well, when I taught the class the first time, I rely on Buffy. She's a teacher by trade, right? Before you were in real estate, and it shows. And when you were developing this content, you brought forth that idea of the money classroom, and I had never paid attention to it or missed its point. And that was a big deal to me and my wife, right? To have that conversation, but more to understand where the conflict lies, right? Because, sometimes you just think, well, you just like to argue, or you're just not smart, or whatever, and it really was just, well, actually, that's how they were raised, and you can't fault them for that, right? So once you're aware of it, though, man, awareness is such a powerful tool to make change happen. Because if you don't have awareness, you don't know where to start to change, right? And that's why this is the first step. It's just the mindset and awareness around how you think about money. And again, when I throw out those sayings like money is the root of all evil, if that's what if you believe that, and you also at some point on some deeper level said it's true, then that's what you got to overcome, right? Because the wealthy do not think about money being the root of all evil.
Oh,
They
maybe
think
some
money
of
is
them.
empowerment. All right, money is good for the good it can do. And a lot of you said at the beginning, freedom from 9 to 5, peace of mind, comfortability. It's the same thing, right? You can't have freedom of time and peace of mind without having an abundance mindset around your money and wealth. Those two can't, unless someone else is taking care of you 100%, they can't coexist.
Right.
So we gotta clean up that part of our.
Can you see if anyone online has any
I got
questions
you.
or feedback?
I'm on it. Yep,
No chat up there.
So, I ChatGPT took the notes, and so it was funny, I just looked down, it says, 4th theme, money is emotional before it's mathematical.
Okay.
Yeah.
ChatGPT.
nailed it.
Well, it's like that one slide that said, right? Like it's always behavior is really hard to teach, even to really smart people. It doesn't matter how smart or how much you know if you're not going to change your behavior. And behavior is always emotional, right?
And behavior is easier when it's habits.
Correct. I see something in the chat. Can you see if you can?
Yeah,
Where's that?
All right,
So
Carter, you're
that's a
fired.
no.
Gotta show a little red thing on chat.
It should.
I don't know why that's weird.
Okay. What do you recommend for staying in an abundant mindset? Good question.
Wow.
Rob, I'll let you take that one.
Yeah. So I think it's who your role models are, right? So for me, I was in the restaurant business, worked for Burger King franchise for 29 years. And I definitely had a scarcity mindset, and I was taught that by the company. And so I took that home to my family, right? And when I got into real estate, I started reading the books from Keller Williams, but then I started reading other things, The Psychology of Money, which that's where I recommend to start that book. Because until you understand how you think about money, you can't move towards abundance.
And it doesn't sound as bad as what it is. It's actually a dad who wrote it for his college-age daughter to understand how money
Because
works.
he realized he didn't do a good job of teaching her about money, and he wanted to do a good job. So, and yeah, it's actually I think it's a fun
Yeah,
book.
it's really easy to
And
read.
yes, I'm a money nerd and all that stuff, but it's
Yeah,
still a
yeah.
fun book. Alright, so
I
yeah,
think
that's
that
what I was learning
also-
abundance is start to eliminate understand why scarcity exists for you, and then you can move towards abundance.
And I think it also has a lot to do with who you are around, right? Like Rob has helped me a ton over the past however many years we've been together, 6 years. Like he has helped a ton to grow my mindset from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset. And I didn't go there quickly. It was a process, right? So I had to learn
Surround
to
yourself-
give
that's the
up
other-
things a little bit.
Like, you know, there's Big Ziegler would say, I think it's, no, it was somebody else. Would say like you are the average of the 5 people you hang around with the most. Right, I've heard that, right? So if you surround yourself with people with a scarcity mindset, that's your mindset. You surround yourself, if you feel like that's the true today, then you have to actively go out and find other people to hang around with and have money conversations with. Do you want to do that? Then you can improve your money mindset.
All right. And the other ones are just thank yous and thanks for offering it. All right, we will be back next week at the same time in the same place. Every week is a little bit different. It builds on the previous week, but they are also standalone classes. So just because
If you miss
someone,
one, don't be afraid.
you know, if you've got a friend or a spouse or a sister or a brother or someone that you want to bring or encourage to come, don't worry, they're not going to feel like they're completely behind or anything like that.
We recorded this on my phone back there. We're gonna publish this on YouTube. And then we're also gonna do a download into Notebook LM, which is an AI, open AI. And
It's not open AI, but that's fine.
I don't know about that. It's an AI program that's free from Google, know that. And we're gonna create notes from that as well, since we didn't bring a note sheet for you to write on. Okay,
Next week, we will have a note sheet for you.
And what is next week's?
Next week is
Right.
communication around budgeting. So having that.
Yeah,
call
but you need to be here
with
next
you
week.
and-
Yeah.
Yes, Lauren.
I just wanted to thank you from the bottom of my heart for that.
yes,
I think this is really good material. And I really appreciate you guys offering this.
thank you
That's
for
all
being
I
here.
wanted to say.
We would
Okay.
really appreciate it if you spread the word or tell people. So, you know, we would like to do it every year, kind of the same thing, get the year started right. So just remember and think who could benefit from it.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
I get to speak next week.
Yes.
Yeah, no, and I got stories. A lot of stories.
No.
Laura's attorney here next week.
No divorce attorney.
There's gonna be a divorce